If you find the idea of setting up a bullet journal intimidating, then I don't blame you. I'm surprised Ryder Carroll can sleep at night, knowing the absolute bujo beasts he has inadvertently created. It astounds me that there are so many people out there claiming to have a bullet journal when their setups completely contradict the idea of what is really a simple and easy to use system. Not to diss the people that spend every waking minute making their bullet journals look beautiful, because they really are quite beautiful things with their craft paper and their great lettering and their tiny little photos that they print out from their phones. But honestly, these people are completely missing the point. It's about time we had a different name for those kinds of people, but that's not what I'm here to discuss. As any video about creating a bullet journal will tell you, the idea is to find your own system of indexes, pages, and spreads that works for you. That's not to say that a little bit of seeing how someone else does it doesn't serve as a little bit of inspiration to get the creative juices flowing. So today I'm going to give you a brief history of how I've set up my bullet journals and also talk you through how I set up my current monthly spread and my current weekly spread. So let's get into it. Well, starting off, as you can see here, I have my 3 bullet journals that I've had so far, starting off with the Rollbound, and now I'm onto a Moleskine. These are the 3 pens I use. Usually I just use 2, but I threw in the green one for fun. So I'm going to start off with showing you how I set up my first one ever. As you can see, it was Steph's attempt to get her shit together. This is a hot tip. Note down how many boxes you have across and down the page for later, because it helps with setting up your pages. But they're the little indicators that I have. Index page I don't really use very much, but it's part of the whole bullet journal thing, according to Ryder Carroll, so you can do that. There's a future log, I also don't use it very much. I don't refer back to these sort of sections. When I set up my first bullet journal, it was in July, so July 2019, which was a year and a half ago. Then I just started with the classic setup, which is the kind of just make a list, and then if you think of some stuff you want to write down, you just kind of put it in a page with some different spreads and then note them in the index at the front. I didn't like this setup very much. I was kind of bad at setting up, so you can see, like, oops, I sometimes forgot to write down the tasks I needed to do for the day. You can see that there's just like some different spreads. Here you can see that I wanted to break up and have a marker of where the weeks were starting and ending, so I have a little marker. Then I continued like that for just like a little while, and by September I decided to set up a habit tracker. I copied this from someone else's spread when I watched a bullet journal tips video. As you can see, I don't really like getting up early and I don't meditate ever. But that was an interesting way just to keep track of like some daily things that I was doing. I can't say that I was fully in love with the system at this point, so I developed sort of a schedule page, which kind of looks like a school timetable because it's got days of the week and then kind of hours of the day down the side. I'm a very visual person, so I needed some way to see everything in a day and in a week. And then at the bottom is a spot for taking notes. I kind of persevered with that setup for a while, but I also don't think it was super effective for me. By December, things were getting busy, so I tried to revert back to the classic method, but then I ended up going for like an AM-PM split for each day, which again wasn't great, but I kept it up for a while to see if it would start to work at some point. I know it kind of breaks the norm of the bullet journal thing. And then in 2020, which I thought was going to be a great year, so I made this great title page. In January, you can see that I was starting to keep track of the days I wasn't having alcohol. And that was also the same month that I decided to quit alcohol. Got to the point where I was tracking like exactly how many drinks I was having and then sort of assessing whether or not I wanted to keep drinking. And so that was interesting for me to see that through, and I probably wouldn't have come to that conclusion without the bullet journal. You can see I just kind of flipping through, persevering with some stuff, some different kind of bits and pieces. But by February, the area to take notes in was getting pretty cramped, and I wasn't really super happy with the setup. So I decided to make a different weekly spread across 2 pages with a bit more space for everything. And that's what I'm going to show you how I set up now. The differences between my first bullet journal and my second bullet journal is that I found I didn't really use the signifiers that much. I also added some washi tape to make it easier to get back to my daily habit tracker, as well as to my weekly spread, which I probably don't use as much because I just use the bookmark for that. My second bullet journal, I copied over a lot of those different little chunks of pages to the front section of my bullet journal, so they were all consolidated. Which really only takes up a few pages, and then the rest of the bullet journal kind of goes month by month. As you can see, I made a mistake, but it doesn't really matter because you just cross it out. It's just a bullet journal, no one else is going to see it. I think that's the biggest takeaway. For me, it's like it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a bullet journal. So with my third bullet journal, I got a Moleskine grid thing which gained me a few boxes at the top, which has actually been really handy for the setup. I miss having the spiral bound though, because it can go flat and it can go in half, which was really handy. But when I tried to get a new roll barn, they just weren't in stock because it was the middle of coronavirus kind of ramping up. I really hate this title page, but oh well, I'm stuck with it now. My signifiers, you can see, haven't changed except for the addition of the Archie note, which is where I make a little note about a project or something. I still haven't filled in my index. But yeah, I've got more boxes down the page now, which has been good for the setup. In the front, I have my future log, which I just kind of divided up by folding the page in half. Just a quick little trick. I don't really keep track of much here except for kind of birthdays. Good thing about bullet journals, you can start any time of year. So this one started in October. Might not go all the way through to September, probably won't, I don't know. But you're not bound by when you have to buy a planner or something. Like, it doesn't have to be a 2021 diary. In the front, I've left some blanks for some things I'm going to copy over from my old bullet journal, which I haven't done yet. But let's get on to the monthly spread. So I'm going to use these 3 pens. This is a black pen from Muji. It's a 0.38 pen. I really like the gel ink pen. This is a 0.5 Artline, which I've had for a while, just because I think I like. And this is, I think, a 0.3 Stapler sort of green guy, but the nib's kind of fucked, so it's a bit, hey, how you doing? As you can see, December, I didn't really finish setting up December. But now I'll set up January, just to show you how I set up my month. I always start off with a monthly title page, which has the layout of the days of the week and the dates, just because it's a nice thing to refer back to. My bullet journal setup involves a bit of writing out the numbers over and over. I also have been including a quote at the start of each month. So this one is, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." I'm going to steal that bit of washi tape and take it over to January, where I'm going to set up my habit tracker. So I just start with a title at the top. Every time I set this up, even though it's the same every month, I always have to go back and check what I've done before. And I just write out dates again and the days of the week again. And then on the left-hand side, I just have my habits that I like to keep track of. Doesn't matter, you can set up your own sort of things. And I usually try and put them in the same order, but sometimes I mess it up. And then I just kind of draw a big box around that. As I said before, I'm a visual person, so I like to have some sort of way of keeping track of things. I break up the habit tracker by just adding dots along the edge of where the weekends are, because that just helps you also just keep track of like what day is it, and kind of helps you line up when you're colouring in the little boxes. As I'm doing this halfway through January, I already know that I haven't had any alcohol this month, so I'm just gonna fill in those boxes. And 10,000 steps a day is something that I'm trying to do again this year, which I did back in 2018, but I've had to take 2 weeks off because of a back injury. And then the next 2 pages is just more writing out of the date. So on the left-hand side is just setting up the whole month from start to finish, the dates and the days of the week, and then I just draw a little box around where the weekends are. Helps me visually break it up. I'm going to cross off all these days because they've already passed, and then put in some things that I know are coming up in the next couple of weeks. On the right hand side is where I kind of sometimes have goals, or like I call it shit to do, goals and shit, thoughts about shit and YouTube ideas. So sometimes I draw a box around these, sometimes I don't. I'm just going to draw a box today because that's what I feel like doing. Sometimes I don't even check back to those things. Anyway, moving on to the weekly setup. My setup, I just kind of copy, you can see from the previous page, and my setup is that I have 6 boxes and then 9 and 9 across, and then 9 boxes down the page. So on the left, that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then I have to fit 4 days on the right hand page. So I have Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday is just split across that bottom large box. More writing out of the date, write out all the days, and then I put a box around which week it is with the green pen or whatever accent pen I'm using. And then, yep, I put in the days of the week, and then also the dates that go along with those days. The 5 headings that I have each week are reading, life, exercise, YouTube, and next. They're pretty self-explanatory. My 3 columns are tasks on the left, sort of daily events in the middle, and then notes on the right. This is something that I set up a long time ago, and I don't need to put those headings on those columns anymore to know what those different things mean. And then I just go ahead and write out for my week the kind of tasks that I want to get done, and then also the appointments that I know I have, or some things that are coming up, which I just kind of want to like think ahead for. And that's, yeah, the 6 boxes, 9 boxes, and 9 boxes. And then I also I plan out the kind of exercise that I want to do for the week as well. And then I assign those exercises to different days. In the back of my bullet journal, there's this little pocket which comes with every Moleskine, which is where I store some stuff. The roll barn was actually better because it has some little plastic sleeves, so there's more than just one pocket to put stuff in. But yeah, I'm just gonna stick with this Moleskine for a while. And then I actually just keep random notes, random thoughts, ideas, sketches, notes about stuff in the back. And I've also done that with my roll barns as well, because there are some notes that I don't always want to be in the front of the book and in the official sort of bullet journal area. And that's how I set up my bullet journal. As you can see, the system that I've developed is pretty economical and pretty simple to set up. Setting up a new monthly spread takes probably 10 to 15 minutes max, and a weekly spread takes 5 to 10 minutes. The other day I set up my weekly spread in literally 5 or 10 minutes over a coffee. Really not that hard. I'm a bit of an information and data nerd, and I really like to keep notes about the stuff. And I find the bullet journal system is a good way to keep track of things that happened and thoughts that I had and projects that I came across that I want to keep reference for the future. I also like having everything in the one spot, so I know that if I make a note and I write it down, I know that it's in my bullet journal and I don't have to look very far or hard in any other notebook to find what I was thinking about. Other diaries and planners rely on you having to buy something at the beginning of the year, and then it limits you in the information that you can put into it and the way that you set things up. So I really like the bullet journal system because it gives you good flexibility to create a spread that works for you. And also, you don't have to buy a book at the beginning of the year. You can buy a book whenever you like, which is also good because the pace and the rate that you go through a book really depends on what you use your bullet journal for and how you use it. I tend to stack a lot of things on my plate because that's just the kind of person that I am, and having a bullet journal helps me keep track of the things that I want to achieve alongside the things that are little tasks and jobs that I have to do that I might just kind of forget about because I'll get caught up in making something like a video or sewing something, and then what do you know, the whole day's gone by and I haven't done those little things that I wanted to tick off my list. And finally, if this video has been useful to you, then please let me know in the comments below. Knowing that I have influenced just one person's life a little bit is really satisfying and obviously motivates me to keep dishing out the life advice you didn't know you needed. Also, while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any life advice coming at you soon. It's also a way of letting me know, hey Steph, we really like what you're making, keep doing what you're doing. So yeah, subscribe, like, comment, you know everything. And until next time, bye!